Welcome back to the Redraft Show. We're still working on a title. Hadn't figured that out yet. We'll name it something eventually. Maybe, potentially, possibly. I am the legendary ball knower, aka your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, aka Chev Doer Sanders, aka Chev GPT, aka Chev 90, and I'm here today with a very special guest. I geeked out. It's very rare that I get really excited, but Today, we're in the presence of somebody who is a pioneer in the Dynasty tool game, the Matthew Berry of the Dynasty tool sets. I've got the creator of the founder of DynastyDaddy.com, Jeremy Temperio, aka Panthers superfan, here today to break down the Carolina Panthers with me on the FFD Fantasy Channel. Jeremy, it's a great day on this side of the dirt. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. That was quite the intro. You rolled out the red carpet for me.
Listen, I mean, I have to. Alex will tell you. Alex put this together. Alex is a producer here, does a ton of work behind the scenes, and one of my closest confidants in the fantasy space. But Alex put this together. He told me a long time ago that he knew you, and I was like, wait, like, I told you before this started. I said, because you would comment on some of our live shows on the FFD, like on FF Dynasty, and I'd be like, that's the guy? Is this somebody just pretending to be like, your name's Dynasty Daddy? It's not the real guy, but maybe it's, and they're like, no, that's him. And I was like, oh, so it's a real person. And now he is here with us today to talk some Carolina Panthers. So it's an interesting deal with your team, but tell us a little bit about how you became a Panthers fan, how you're feeling about the team going into 2025. Just tell us about your experience and what you're looking forward to or a little bit nervous about going in.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Charlotte, so I was born the same year Charlotte got a team. So growing up with the Panthers, I remember the first time I really remember was the Super Bowl run that the Panthers went on back in 2003. And when the Super Bowl happened, I just remember that was one of the first nights I was allowed to stay up like super late as a kid. And I was like, oh, this is special. Like, there's something special going on here. But I mean, the Panthers, I just grew up with them. I watched all the terrible years. I remember when we dragged Vinny Testaverde out of the retirement home and had him throw a touchdown. Like, I remember watching Jimmy Clausen and I feel like, not to get like too personal, but I feel like when the Panthers picked Cam Newton, it was like, wait a minute, like, we can get something good too. And it was fun to kind of grow up. You know, I remember going to school in middle school and high school with Cam Newton, like just watching him mature into like an absolutely amazing player. And it was just cool to like see that and see the vibe of the school. And nothing hits the same as like walking into school and like everyone's just like buzzing about what's going on in the NFL. So I always enjoyed that. And now we're in an interesting point. You know, we're in an interesting point where we've been kind of rudderless for like the past 7 years or so.
Right.
And for the dynasty and fantasy football community, that's been good because I don't want to watch the Panthers games as much. So instead I'm working on my, computer, making a website because I'm like, I need to do something. I can't watch my team go 2-15 over and over. But I do think the best team we've had since 2018 from like a talent perspective. I don't think it's going to be an amazing team, but I think if they were on Dynasty Daddy, I think they're like fraud to frisky, right? Like I don't think they're like a true rebuilder at this point. Like they do need to show some things. And I think there's the upside of like maybe they win 9 games and maybe are fighting for that 7th spot. Because you might be like, okay, like let's not get hyped up too much. It's the Panthers now. But I mean, the Colts were fighting for a playoff spot till like week 15 or something last year. So right. With the expanded playoffs, there's extra room that, if the Panthers just get lucky a little bit, don't have that weird issue with Bryce Young in the beginning of the year, like I do see things could improve, but I also understand the floor is like, 4 wins again and we're back to ground zero. So there's a high range of outcomes.
That's one of the most interesting and So I agree with you in that where we're talking that fraud to frisky range, because if Bryce just continues down the path that he was on basically when he came in week 8 and carried through week 18, you could see the confidence start to come back and grow like exponentially, leaps and bounds. And it's one of the, to me, it's just another cautionary tale in writing a player off and leaving them for dead, and completely writing them off without just evaluating the environment itself and saying, hey, I can't make a determination on what Bryce Young actually is, because the team has decided to make Jonathan Mingo and add 37,000-year-old Adam Thielen his primary weapons, right? So yeah. It's weird to jump to the conclusion that Bryce can't play at all when you've given him literally nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, like his situation, like they get compared a lot, like Caleb Williams. His situation is very similar to Caleb Williams as this year, where with Bryce Young had basically a lame duck coach. I know he had a brand new coach, but halfway through it was like, what the hell is going on here? And then they fired him. And then you're like, okay, how much was it the coach? How much was it Bryce? They had to install a brand new organization. And I feel like you kind of see that with a lot of these young guys that don't instantly just crush it like a Stroud or, like Jaden Daniels or something, where it's like I think even the Caleb Williams situation is a little messier because like the coach was already on the hot seat to begin with. And it's like, why don't you just clean house anyway? But it's hard when you have that first year and you're like, how real is this? And also it's like Bryce Young has a lot of things working against him from just a profile standpoint. Like you're just like, I hope you can make, I hope your processing is elite, because otherwise you're as tall as me. Like like if you're me out there. You don't have like a crazy arm. You're not incredibly mobile like a Kyler that can make up for it. He can scramble a little. He's got like a little bit of that like Russell Wilson back in the day type of scrambling, but it's not like high, like everyone's watching out. You got to have a spy on him type of vibe. It's just like, okay, he might burn you every once in a while. So it's something where it's like it's hard to believe in him when you just watch him do bad, because it looks like a kid that you just threw in there. And he's like, deer in the headlights. Like, what is going on? And I'm like, where did we pick this guy up? Like he should, he's missing like his 8th grade math class right now. Like we need to let him go back.
It's wild. So, I mean, that notion, that whole thing with Bryce it's like his brain has to be a superpower, because otherwise it seems like he is very physically limited in the ways that he can impact the game. Like you're not going to be able to drive the ball into super tight windows. He gets it there. Hey, I'm going to throw it before I see it, because I know if I aim it here, it's going to hit this guy in the hands in 2 or 3 steps. That's the way that, and you started to see that come back. And it was culminated in week 18 with the walk-off, like the look-off touchdown. Was it JT Sanders? I can't remember who it was, but
I think Sanders was out. I think it was Trimble.
So it was Trimble. He throws a pass and then immediately puts him up for 6. And I was like, oh, we're back. We are so back. It's really exciting. And that's kind of why I think that this team could be like fraud to frisky. Like some people would describe it as plucky. And I think the defense is going to take a little bit of a step forward. I mean, it was, that was not great, Bob. I'm not gonna lie. I saw Carolina. I see Carolina on the schedule in 2024. Man, I'm trying to grab me. Like if I got to buy a guy, can I get someone in the lineup that's going to play against Carolina if I got a bye week? That's where we were in 2024. But in 2025, I think that there's going to be maybe not from a team perspective, but I think there's going to be a jump from being whatever it was the first couple of weeks of the season where Bryce got benched to what we saw at the end of the season, and then the defense taking a step forward. So,
are you a survivor? Are you not going to give up? Then you need to sign up for this new game called Fantasy Football Survivor. Instead of picking an NFL team to win each week, you set a new fantasy lineup. But you can only use a player once per season. Advance each week by staying out the bottom percentile and performing over expected. Drink. The contest is free to join. Sign up for the main event. Create your own leagues. What are you waiting for? Click the link in the description.
Do you like how this offseason has gone and what the moves that you guys have made as far as upgrading the defense, and then obviously with the addition of Teteroa McMillan? Like, how do you feel about the team's rise from, to be kind, sort of mediocrity at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's being nice to them to say that defense was mediocre. I mean, I probably could average 5 yards a carry against the Panthers rush defense, but there was a lot of factors that played into it. Because when Clowney is your best lineman, there's a reason he's a journeyman. He's certainly a good rotational piece, but he can't be that guy. And with Derek Brown going down early in the year, the middle was so weak. So I do really enjoy the signings. They really bolstered, brought in like 2, 3, 4 guys. And then they also 2 second-round picks on Scorton and Princely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if both will hit, but I also just like the idea of like, we just need bodies in there. And if one can, if one does well, then okay, like that's perfect. And even if they're like decent to not amazing players, they're high value, high EV players that you want to flip a team around. So to me, like, I think we at least addressed the offensive or the defensive line a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we also brought in, I forgot the safety's name now, the guy, Mogrig from the Raiders.
Yeah.
Again, like my expectations aren't, okay, this team, we now got a top 16 defense. I mean, I'm happy if we're 22, but I do think if we can just not be, who's playing the Panthers in the fantasy playoffs? Like, you need to get that running back. Like, that's all you need. If we're not that type of team, then I'm happy there, because the offense has way more of an investment in it, which is weird because the Panthers have always been like kind of a grit and grind defensive team with kind of like a ugly offense. Even during like the Cam Newton years, it was like Cam and a bunch of scrubs, and then we have like Kuechly and all these other amazing defensive players that just lock people down.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like a reversal a little bit of like, we have this kind of nice catered offense. And I do think I was a little lower on Tet when we initially took him, just because like the big body guys that don't get great separation, I'm always just scared of. Like, can they get separation at the next level? I will say I do feel like he made some decent catches besides that one drop, but he's made some decent catches in the preseason. I'm like, okay, if they seem to have some chemistry, and that makes me optimistic, because right now when I look at the wide receiver room, it kind of still reminds me, it kind of reminds me of the Buffalo Bills right now at the wide receiver room. That's it. Not anything else, but the wide receiver room.
All right. Wait, where are we going with this?
Yeah, they're actually the Bills. They're the favorites of the AFC. But it's just like a laundry list of random players that are like they're all right. Like it's Josh Palmer types. You're like, sure, you got Jalen Coker. I think he's nice. You got Thielen. Like, he's super old, but he's still okay. You brought in Renfro. Maybe he's something. Maybe he's like a 5th guy. You got Jimmy Horn. Okay, cool. Like, it's a bunch of guys, it's like Leggett. It's like, okay. Like, it's guys you're like, okay, they belong on an NFL roster, but it's not, I feel like super confident. It's not like a T Higgins or something where it's like, if Tech can be something more than just a bunch of random, dirty dishes in the sink, then it's like, okay, cool. Like, we actually have something that people care about, rather than like, no one's like, I need to scheme against Thielen. It's like, if Thielen does something, like, okay, like, I mean, we'll let the 39-year-old catch a pass. So I am optimistic. I think it will really come down to, I mean, I think the biggest thing is like, can our defense stop the run?
Yes.
To some extent. Last year we couldn't at all. Can we at least be like early 20s?
Yeah.
And just like a decent improvement. I think that will make a lot of the games closer, because now the teams can't just get up by 10 and then just run the ball down our throat and we can't stop it. And then the clock expires. Right. I do feel decent about the team in general, but I do think that's the biggest question mark.
Yeah. I think you take a huge step forward again with Derek Brown returning from the injury. And then Nick Scorton was one of the highest graded, if I'm not mistaken, run defenders on PFF for Texas A&M last year. Prince Manley-Ellen was a stud at Ole Miss. And I was hoping against hope. I'm a big Titans fan. I was hoping against hope that we would somehow, and so we went with, what's the kid's name? The guy from UCLA. Femi Oladejo, former middle linebacker that converted to an edge rusher, and I really wanted Prince Emmanuel. So I wanted him, or I wanted Ezraku. We traded out 35, so that didn't really happen. But I'm happy for you, is what I'm trying to say. Is because I think I liked what I saw from Prince Emmanuel. I liked the potential of Nick Scorton. I just wanted to. I think that it's going to go in the right direction. But you touched on Teteroa McMillan. No Diddy, but you alluded to his presence earlier as a maybe potentially being a difference maker, maybe just not like the random collection of pieces that the wide receiver room started off with in 2024. You've got Xavier Legette, first round pick. Jalen Coker flashed as an undrafted free agent, really put some positive things on tape. Adam Thielen went for over 1,000 yards, comes back in 2024. And I think he was like wide receiver 13 in points per game once he returned. And I know this because I was randomly clicked on a best ball podcast and it was like, yeah, Adam Thielen was on a lot of money-making rosters. It was like, oh, it's weird. So we tend to throw him out, throw the baby out with the bathwater, but Adam Thielen's probably going to play a meaningful role this year again. Or do you think that the team is gonna push him to the side for a guy like Jalen Coker? Or you've got the rookie Jimmy Horn, right? Like this room is full of talent, and that's just, we're going to be 2 years removed from Adam Thielen and Jonathan Mingo doing their best clown car impression out there.
You put us in our place a little bit because, we are making fun of Thielen a bit, but he is putting up at least good fantasy weeks when he's out there, the good production. And I mean, frankly, he still was our best guy. I mean, Deontay Johnson had a good run before. I don't know what happened before the weather got cold. Thielen, I still assume he's sadly like the longest vet that's been with Bryce there. So I still assume he'll have, especially early on, I'm sure he'll get banged up just because of age, but I'm sure he'll have a pretty decent role in the offense. And then it's kind of like, okay, what happens with all these kind of speculative players that I am optimistic about to some extent with like a Legette or a Coker. Like, I'm glad that those spots are filled with not Jonathan Mingo types and guys. It's like, okay, like Coker could be, like Jacoby Myers in 5 years. And everyone's like, oh, he established himself as someone relevant. Or he could just be like, like a random guy that does stuff every once in a while. So like it could be like a Curtis Samuel type deal where you're like, maybe he'll take that next step to be a real guy, but he just kind of was like a slightly above average gadget guy. So, but it's nice to not have to be like, this is all we have, right? We actually have a shot at a high end wide receiver.
Yes.
That could be that next guy. And even as even being a DJ Moore fan, you never got like the Steve Smith type aura of like, oh, this guy is actually going to be the best wide receiver in the league.
Yeah.
Like DJ Moore was like, oh, he'll be a top 12. He'll be like the 12th best receiver in the league, maybe. And there's a different excitement when it's like, okay, we have this new mystery box that might be a top 10 wide receiver, not like a 10 to 20 wide receiver that you're like, okay, well, he's good, but he's not Jamar Chase.
Right. It's interesting because there was a really strange case, and I fell victim to it, just being totally honest with you. I fell victim to it with Teteroa, the big pineapple, what I like to call him, prospect fatigue. Just straight up prospect fatigue. It's like, man, I went from, hey, this is a giant human being with rare body control to, hey, this dude is out here getting jammed up by future pulpit salesmen. And I don't know if he can get off press in the league, if he's out here struggling with Little Sisters of the Poor to get off press. And, you had the little mini, spat, well, not spat, but the way that Steve Smith evaluated him gave me pause as well. But I had to go back to, because I had to do it for a draft guide I was doing it. So I watched basically almost every game of his for 3 years on, that was available to me on like the film cut-ups or whatever. So I was like, oh yeah, no, this dude's awesome. Like I think that there's a very, very high ceiling. It might be, aggressively speaking, it could be what it looks like for a guy like T. Higgins if he was just able to dominate a target share. And like last year, Xavier Legette only had 81 targets. Jalen Coker missed some time. I'm not going to lie to you, Jeremy. I love Jalen Coker. Absolutely love him. I share anytime I see a Cokehead meme or Cokeheads Unite, like I almost always retweet it or,
You're like in there.
Yeah, I got to get in there when it's Jalen Coker. Now, I did like Xavier Legette too, but I think he was completely miscast last year. So do you think that they're going to kind of figure out the better way to use, or do you have an opinion on the best way each guy would be used to best fit their skill set with the Panthers to make sure that we're optimizing Bryce Young's rookie contract?
Yeah, I mean, part of me is not even thinking about the Panthers rookie or Bryce Young's rookie contract at this point. I think the window sailed of like, oh, we need to maximize what this contract can be, because it's just like, is this even a viable team going forward?
Right.
But I mean, I think that's the same thing. Like you mentioned the prospect fatigue, and I do think Tet was one of the biggest cases of prospect fatigue I could ever remember, where it's just like, oh, we have this guy that's a stud, and then he slowly, people saw the video of him freshman year being like, I don't watch film, and everyone's like, oh, like I'm out on him now. So I do think I was like, maybe I let the Twitter algorithm or whatever get to me, and I need to take a step back and be like, he is a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, there's a lot of promising guys there, but no one there was like, oh gosh, like he's obviously the number 2 because he's going in, and there's AJ Brown or, some guy like that. So he does have the opportunity, I think, to pretty much just demand a crazy target share. I mean, I don't want to say like a Malik Neighbors or a Brian Thomas Jr., but like those guys came into situations where it was like nobody's there. So they thrived and dominated. And you can see sometimes it doesn't work out to the same extent with like a Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, there's a McBride piece to that. But, like I'm not saying Tet's going to be, Neighbors or anything, but the opportunity's there. It's not like it's not like we're going to, after 1 year, we'll kind of know what he is in terms of, is he going to be an instant hit?
Right.
So the upside and the ceiling there makes me really excited because I haven't had that as a Panthers fan in a long time. But when I look at like a Legette, I think Legette kind of fits like the old Curtis Samuel role, like Debo role. Like I think he's best when you just kind of, or honestly, even a little bit of like DJ Moore light, where it's just like get the ball in his hands and just let him go try to pick up a first down. I know too, like the thing about Xavier Legette was he was kind of like a very good yak guy in college and had really good hands. And something we saw his first year in the NFL is his hands kind of regressed a bit, which was surprising. Many drops, obviously the infamous one against the Eagles where he dropped the game-winning walk-off touchdown essentially. But I do know he had a wrist injury that he was dealing with pretty much all year. So I'll say, okay, like I'll give you a little bit of grace because I am a Panthers fan. I have to. But I also not saying, hey, draft him. I'm not drafting Legette in many places. But I'm hoping that can heal, and that's kind of what caused his hands to regress. I will say he was able to get separation better than I thought he would. Yeah. Because his college, he was not very good at getting separation. I was like, I don't really know. Like him and Bingo, I was like, that's kind of a bad history of drafting borderline first round wide receivers. But I mean, I feel decent with him not having to be the wide receiver 1 on the team if Tet can be that. If he's like the 2 or 3, I think that's a perfect type of role for him. And then for Coker, I feel like he just is like soak up everything you can from Thielen because, you and Thielen have like the same backstory. Like just do what Thielen does. And honestly, I think it could work out. If I mean, in a perfect world, everyone is great. But, I do think that they complement each other in different ways because, Tet with his contested catches, elite hands, speed. No one has that on the team.
Right.
Coker's an elite route runner, could totally, build on that. And then, Legette's yak ability is something that I think if we lean into that more versus being like, hey, catch all these, deep routes and stuff.
These go balls. Yeah. Big posts. Yeah, dude. I'm 100% with you. I said that I've been saying that about Xavier Legette. I thought that last year with Canales coming on board, they would maybe be able. Canales is a wide receiver, former wide receiver coach.
Mm-hmm.
He gets credited with, restoring or resurging, causing the resurgence, being at the helm for the resurgence of Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. But he's a wide receivers coach at his core. And so I thought he was going to be able to get a little bit more out of Mingo. Obviously, that doesn't come to fruition at all. But you won.
Got a fourth-round pick.
Yeah, you got a fourth-round pick. And then Deontay Johnson just became disgruntled and talked his way out of there right as Adam Thielen was getting hurt. So Jalen Coker gets cast into this role. And then immediately you were then forced for Xavier Legette to go being moved around the formation and used on those short area targets. So hey, go win outside and downfield. I thought one of his superpowers was contested catch ability, right? And you saw several occasions, one time Alontae Taylor just ripped the ball out of his hands. And I was like, oh, that's when I realized, that's the risk. He doesn't have any sort of grip strength or anything whatsoever to be able to fight back in those. So I do think it played a factor. I think he's going to be better this year. Casey also loves Xavier Legette. I think Jalen Coker's a more polished receiver, and I think that there's more ways that you can deploy him to be successful. And so that's why I keep bringing it up. But also you have Jimmy Horn now, people like him. Yeah. He's been, I don't say this lightly, but he reminds me, the way he moves in and out of his breaks and how sudden he is reminds me of Tank Dell. I'm not saying it'll play out like that just because it's really hard to get, a guy who's 5'8" and 170 pounds. It's hard to create targets for that. And you're working through this whole thing with Bryce and just trying to make sure that all the pieces fit together. So maybe once it's established, you can start to, if Bryce starts to take that command that you saw him take towards the back half of the season, it works out that way.
If you're looking for more FFD, sign up for a Patreon or YouTube membership and get access to the ADP, Dynasty rankings, the rookie draft kit, and extra shows every week.
Dude, we've talked about the Panthers for 27 minutes now, and we have not mentioned my favorite Panther, Chuba Hubbard. Okay. Chuba Hubbard. I've been pounding the drum for Chuba Hubbard. I did not do that. Ironically, I didn't do that intentionally, but I've literally been talking about Chuba Hubbard all off season. I feel like this is one of the safest things. You guys added Rico Dowdle in free agency. You drafted Trevor Etienne in the 4th round. You've got Jonathan Brooks, who's going to miss all of 2025. So we don't have to talk about him, but what's your outlook on the backfield here?
Yeah. We got 2 1,000-yard rushers in the Panthers backfield. Let that sink in. But really, I will say, I think it's Chuba it's pretty much going to be Chuba's game. I do think Rico is a improvement of just depth there, but giving Chuba a big contract for a running back, I think is just kind of let's lock down the core. And then those two, Chuba started becoming kind of a leader in that locker room. So it's you don't want to, when the team has no culture, you don't want to be oh, we don't take care of our guys. So I think a lot of that too is even if he's not Derrick Henry level amazing, they want to take care of the guys that they're trying to build a new culture with. So I'm happy they brought him back or extended him. I think the biggest thing to all of that, as you alluded to in the show notes, is the improvements of the offensive line last year. Bringing in Robert Hunt, signing all these guys, bringing in depth. Because before it was just a turnstile. It was awful. And now we actually brought in people and built a borderline top 10 offensive line. And that unit, I think, is really where we saw Chuba shine, because I don't think Chuba is a true elite, elusive type of back that can break a bunch of tackles and win with a bad offensive line. But with actually having a good offensive line, you saw he was able to do pretty good work. That's all I need to do on a bad team. I just need give me something. So he certainly, outside of that one fumble, I will say, that lost us that one game, I think against the Bucs, that hurt my heart. But outside of that, he was phenomenal all year. One of my favorite Panthers to watch. I will say too, it's interesting because I know he was a hyped prospect coming into the NFL. His senior year, that team had a terrible offensive line. So then he kind of fell in the draft. And then all his years in Carolina, we had a terrible offensive line. So it really was like, hey, now that we got a good offensive line, we could actually see what he showed us like his junior year in college. And we're like, wait, he is still a good back. So I'm certainly very happy with the moves we did. And I think bringing in Rico as well was a pretty good signing.
I'm with you. So here's the thing that I think people gloss over a lot with just the timeline with Chuba. So you guys paid Miles Sanders, gave him a second contract.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he was supposed to be the starter, the bell cow. Well, what pretty immediately happened was it showed that Chuba was the better, more reliable back. And I think that, signing Damian Lewis, signing Robert Hunt, bringing in Austin Corbett, I think that those things, Taylor Moton has been a stalwart for you guys for a long time. And Ike Ekwonu, Ike Ekwonu playing left tackle is also very solid, really, really good run blocker as well. So I think that putting him behind that offensive line, he averaged a career high 4.8 yards a carry. They were moving people out of the way. And if you give a guy like that a little bit of daylight, he's going to get the tough yards. He's not the most creative runner, but I don't care. He's tough. He handled 80% of you guys' carries inside the 5-yard line. Let me ask you this. Do you think that cuts into Rico Dowdle cuts into his basically green zone share this year? Or do you think it's more of a, hey, we're just going to get a series or two for Rico every now and then, and Chuba's still going to be probably a 65% snap guy?
I would lean to the latter. I still think they're just going to stick with Chuba for a while. I do think Dowdle will get a little bit more usage than what the Panthers rolled out last year. But I think the long-term goal is Chuba's game, and we'll just kind of sprinkle in Dowdle here and there.
Yeah, that's what I lean to. That's what I lean to as well. And then with the rookie Trevor Etienne, he's looked pretty solid in these outings. I mean, outside of the very first fumble, he looks like he's got juice. I'm a Florida Gators fan, so I was scorned by the fact that he decided to leave us and go to Georgia. But I've been waiting for him to get to the NFL. So it was kind of a Debbie Downer that he ended up with the Panthers. But because I think he's, I think talent wise, he's a very, very talented player, and he's got a unique skill set that I think could be good for fantasy. But I don't think he's going to touch the field over Chuba or Rico Dowdle. Or do you disagree with that?
No, I would agree. I think he's more of a long play. Like if you have those leagues with a taxi squad and you're like, okay, I'll hold him. Like this year, I'm not expecting much. Maybe next year, I think he could be someone that plays that number 2 role, because I believe Dowdle is on a 1-year deal, if I recall.
Yeah, Dowdle. It's wild because the Cowboys went and signed 2 people to the same deal that they could have just given Rico Dowdle to stay there. And now you're rolling out there with, the ghost of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. It's a wild. I know, you might be a Javonte guy. Well, you went to NC State. So no, you're not a Javonte guy.
Yeah. I was about to say, yeah. I'm like, yeah.
I was like, wait. It's Carolina, but it's not North Carolina.
Don't get me started on Drake May now.
Yeah. So I really, I'm really bullish on Chuba. He's my running back 17 for redraft this year. I think that this is one of the cheapest workhorses that you can get in the game, like in the game of fantasy. And I think that this offense as a whole is one of the cheapest buys that you can make. You can get, a Teteroa McMillan. I have him wide receiver 15, which is aggressive for a lot of people. But I think, one, he comes in, he's going to get peppered with between 130 and 140 targets probably. There tends to be a little bit more of the, negative game script that's going to be apparent. The Panthers win total is projected at 6.5 wins. I'll get your opinion on that later, but there's going to be opportunities for Bryce to throw the ball quite a bit. And there's an element here where this could take a major step forward and nobody's really talking about it. And all these guys are tremendously undervalued. So we haven't talked about Jatavian Sanders in this tight end room at all. Are you hopeful for anything productive out of Ja'Tavion Sanders? He's looked tremendous in camp. I think he said he slimmed down from 255 to 238. And, are you expecting anything from Ja'Tavion Sanders this year from a fantasy perspective?
I don't put a ton of trust in a fantasy tight ends in general, unless if the scoring, it comes down to me is well, how's your scoring in your league? So in general, I'd be you could probably miss it on that. But I do think Sanders as a actual football player is someone that does have a lot of upside. Because I did see key third downs. He was kind of someone that Bryce would go to move the chains a lot when he was healthy, and he was able to make some big catches. And I remember being at one game and being who is this? I was who was that? Who just made that amazing catch? And it's multiple times it was Sanders. I was oh wow, he can be that one in the crucial plays to make that big catch. So I am optimistic that he can actually develop into a pass catching tight end that is reliable, because the Panthers haven't really had that since Greg Olsen. So it's been forever since we can actually count on a tight end. And that's kind of when the Panthers were good. We had that tight end option that really, going all the way back to Jeremy Shockey and all of that, some of our best offenses where we had that tight end that could go out and make those catches as well. So I am very optimistic about Sanders. I am nervous about saying he's a good fantasy tight end. I just need to really see consistent volume for me to trust that.
I'm not saying he's a great fan. I'm asking.
He could be.
Yeah.
I do think he could be.
Obviously, he's not a guy that we're going to be focused on in fantasy drafts hardly at all. This is just something, just a name to keep on your plate if, you're playing in some sort of best ball tight end premium redraft league. You're even sicker than I am, because I don't do those sorts of things. But I just wanted to bring it up because that's a guy that I really liked. I really, really liked what he put on film at Texas. And he was, he did go, even though he went in the 4th round, he was I believe he was the second tight end off the board, if I'm not mistaken. And
I believe so, yeah.
And I think that this is, I'm thinking the offense takes a step forward. So maybe he's a middling tight end too. I just want to see that. I just want to see that growth. I want to see him be able to command some sort of target share. I don't think it could be meaningful for fantasy immediately, but I like him as a player. So I just wanted to make sure I brought it up. I shoehorned.
No, it's a good call out.
Yeah. I have now shoehorned 2 of my favorite players on the Panthers into this episode successfully. Mark it down, guys. But before we get out of here, we're going to do what's called the FFD Fantasy Keys to Generational Wealth, brought to you by Jeremy. Give me your last name again. I'm gonna retake that. All right. Temperio. All right. So now we're gonna transition into the FFD Fantasy, the Keys to Generational Wealth, brought to you by Jeremy Temperio, the founder of Dynasty Daddy. And I'm gonna ask him a series of questions. We're gonna go over or under, and he's gonna let us know. And you guys can do a season-long parlay. So if you win, you can shout him out, shoot him a message on Twitter thanking him. But first, we're going to start with the Panthers win total set at over under 6.5 wins. Are you going over or under on the Panthers win total this year?
Ooh, this is tough because I think that's a decent line. I'd probably go over just because I'm an optimist. This is my team, but I do think it's probably within the range of 6 to 8. That's where I probably feel like they're going to end up.
Yeah. I have a hard time just looking at the team, seeing the way the season ended last year and just how positive the vibes are. And then it's not taking a step there. Nothing negative has happened. You just added to what already was a positive environment. So I think I'm going to ride with you. I'm going to go over on this. I'm going to go over on 6.5. So I'm with you here. We're off to a hot start. The keys to the generational wealth, play number 1, Panthers over 6.5 wins. Moving on to the next prop. We're going to take Teteroa McMillan's season-long receiving yardage props set at 795.5. I feel like this is free. Never mind. Jeremy, are you going over or under 795.5 for one Big Pineapple Tetairoa McMillan season-long receiving yardage prop?
Well, given that you said that this feels like free money, I hope I'm going in the same direction. I would definitely take the over. I mean, we got a 17-game season now, too. So, like, the number inflation is real. It's not the exact same as the old days with 1,000 yards receiving. And there's almost no one there. There's no one that has a higher ceiling on that offense than Tet. And we already saw it early on. I mean, he had like 80 yards in one drive on that Panthers. Not 80 yards, but he probably had like 40 yards in one drive.
Yeah.
In the Panthers preseason game. I expect him to be very involved in the offense. So to me, this is a pretty easy over.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just to add some context to this situation that we're discussing here, all Mr. Pineapple, Big Pineapple, Tetairoa McMillan has to do here is average 46.8 yards per game over a 17-game season to hit the over, which would be 796 yards here. So I'm with you. We're 2 for 2. We're absolutely cooking. Staying with Tetairoa McMillan, going to his touchdown prop, over under 4.5 for 2025.
I think I'm going to say something similar. Life's too short to pick the under here. To me, it's like there's not a ton of red zone targets, like or target earners. And we already saw them go to Tet in the preseason in the red zone. I expect we'll see that many times. In 17 games, he's going to score 4-5 touchdowns. Yeah, easily. I feel like he'll probably be in kind of like the 7-8-ish range, realistically.
Yes, that's where I land too. So we're 3 for 3 here. We're on the same wavelength, and I absolutely love it. Last but not least, we've got my favorite Panther. We're going with his rushing line. It's currently set at over 950 and a half, over under 950 and a half. For all the marbles here, are we going to go all overs here and just shove Captain Underpants out the door? Talk to me, Jeremy. Where are we going here?
I think that's where I'm leaning. I will say the thing about the Panthers, and when we talk about fantasy production and we talk about offenses we want to invest in, what's the thing we always talk? The best offense you can think of, you're going to probably be like, it's the Bengals, right? Yeah. What makes that offense so good? Not only do you have high-powered offense, but that defense is absolute butt cheeks. And the Panthers defense, even if they improve, are still probably going to be butt cheeks. This team is kind of like, it's the Walmart, it's the Amazon Basics version of the Bengals. Of this defense is probably still going to be bad, even with the new improvements. And if their offense can be good, they're going to have to score a lot of points. So I expect Chuba to hit the over here.
Love it. We're 4 for 4. We've given you the keys to generational wealth, brought to you by Dynasty Daddy's own Jeremy Temperio, the founder, the CEO, the head honcho of Dynasty Daddy, one of my favorite tools in all of the fantasy scape. We're going over on everything. Chuba Hubbard, rushing yards, 950 and a half. Book it. Okay. We're going over 4.5 touchdowns for Tetairoa McMillan in the 2025 NFL season. We're going over 795 and a half yards for Tetairoa McMillan, the Big Pineapple, in 2025. And last but not least, we're going over on the Panthers 6.5 win total. So you've got it. Book it. Hey, we're just trying. Hey, this is not financial advice. These are keys to generational wealth. Okay. But this has been an absolute blast, Jeremy. I am so, like I said, I've had so much fun doing this in general, but this has been a blast because this is one of my favorite teams to talk about because nobody really wants to talk about it because everybody thought Bryce was dead and now he's not dead. So I getting to talk Panthers, Chuba Hubbard, Tetairoa McMillan. I can't thank you enough for coming on, brother.
Absolutely. I love talking to Panthers. Not many people want to, like you said, people forget they're a team. It feels bad because, when you're a Panthers Hornets fan, you forget sometimes that you even have a team, but it's always fun. And I do think this is one of the most optimistic I've been since the Panthers were 6-2 heading into the Monday. I think it was the Monday night game against the Steelers where Cam Newton blew out his shoulder.
Yes. Cam's one of my favorite players of all time. So I've had a long-standing love, and I played high school I went to high school. He didn't get to play, but I went to high school with Michael Orr. So that Panthers run was extra special because it's a guy that I watched grow up, and Cam Newton, one of my favorite players, being able to watch them play, even though it didn't work out in the end. But yeah, I absolutely am thrilled to be able to do this. Before we get out of here, tell the people where everything you're working on, where they can find you. I mean, I'm in the Discord. Tell us everything about where we can find everything related to Dynasty Daddy.
Absolutely. I got a lot of random things, but the main thing is dynasty-daddy.com. You can just search Dynasty Daddy in Google. I'm biased. Best fantasy tool out there, developed by yours truly. Also got daily trivia on there as well. And all of that stuff's completely free. I do have a Patreon that gets you ad-free and some additional perks. It's $6 a month. So that's another way if you want to financially support me. That's a good way to do it. Also have a YouTube channel we're building out every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We do a Dynasty trade show. Will and I, we just hop on there and talk shop for a while. So that's a fun time. And then lastly, you mentioned the Discord, which you can find on the website, completely free. We are close to 1,700 members in there, constantly talking trades, leagues, finding your leagues, all that stuff, as well as it's a great place to stay up to date on new features, which I roll out on the site all the time.
Outstanding, brother. I am, like I said, this has been so much fun. It is always a pleasure to be able to talk to someone who, the brain of someone who put together something as awesome as Dynasty Daddy. I will co-sign the fact that it is my favorite app to use. Like I told you before we went live, like I spend probably an hour to an hour and a half every day while I'm at work, just like perusing all of my Dynasty teams to figure out where trades are made. But again, thank you so much. And before we get out of here, I'll leave you guys with this. There's ball watchers and there's ball knowers. Assign yourselves accordingly. Until next time.